Good morning. Good morning. We come together by the light of the chalice flame. Please join me in our words for lighting our flaming chalice. We light this flame as a symbol of new life, enlightening our way, as a symbol of the warmth in every human heart. Let the lighting of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of hope, of peace, of love. May we share that light with all people.
Good morning. We are so glad to welcome you here to the Fox Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship this morning. My name is Dave Gerlach. I'm a member of the steering committee of the men's group of the fellowship. I'm also one of the longest term members of this congregation, as I first started coming to the fellowship back in 1974, when the fellowship met at the then Girl Scout headquarters on the east end of College Avenue near the bridge. At that time, it was a very, very small group of people, but I did continue to go most Sundays, and in time, the fellowship became a very important place to me. And over the years, it also became a very important place to my wife and son as well. And in those months and years that followed when I first entered the doors, the fellowship exuded the feeling of home to me. I felt very comfortable, supported, and stimulated as a member. One thing that I value very highly about the fellowship is that so many of my friends also attend here. So if this is your first time visiting the fellowship, I want to extend to you a very, very hearty and special welcome, and a wish that you will continue to explore this place. I hope that you too will come to find that this place will feel like home. I expect that if you keep returning, that you will meet people here who will become your friends. And I hope that you will consider inviting your friends to come and explore this place with you. To any visitors today, we offer the help and services of our Director of Congregational Life, Marie Luna. She'd love to help you get connected here. So please feel free to chat with her after the service or send an email to her. And thank you to all of those who helped make this morning's service possible. And so now it is time to settle in. Please take a deep breath and let it go. Become aware of your body wherever you are. Allow yourself to come into this sanctuary so we can be fully present to this time together.
We gather this morning in body, in mind, and in spirit. And for our call to gather this morning, I will invite all of us to respond by making a joyful noise in whatever ways our bodies, minds, and spirits feel moved. Sometimes the weight of the world presses down on us, leaving us forgetting how good a joyful noise can feel. So when prompted, feel free to snap or holler or wave your hands or cheer if you feel called to. Let's try that. Let's go ahead and make that joyful noise. Wonderful. So, for the gift of breath that flows in and out of our bodies, we make a joyful noise. For the beauty of this morning and the changings of the seasons, we make a joyful noise. For the embrace of this community and the big love of our faith, we make a joyful noise. Let us worship together.
We, as Unitarian Universalists, strive to encourage a spiritual stance of abundance. We reject a scarcity mindset with the fear and shame around resources. So we take this time each week as a moment of practice, of taking stock of what we have, cultivating peace when we need to ask for support, and giving with joy whatever we are able to offer. For those of you who would appreciate some support, we are here to help. Please do not hesitate to reach out to Reverend Christina, Reverend Leah, or Minister Allie if you are in need of financial or emotional support. It is a joy for us to be able to offer help on behalf of this beloved community. And if you are one who is feeling stable and able to give, we ask that you do so in that spirit of abundance. There are so many ways to give to the fellowship. You can give of your time and talent, and we especially need financial resources to allow our ministry to thrive for the months and the years to come. You can come up to one of our offering baskets, which our ushers are holding near the back of the sanctuary, and you can raise your hand if you want an usher to come to you, or anyone can donate online or via text to give function on a smartphone. Thank you so much. Your gifts are deeply appreciated.
Our first hymn is in the small teal hymnal. It's number 1009, Meditation on Breathing. Please join me. I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. Breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Good morning. Our first reading is excerpts from Found While Lost by Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Eric W. Martinez-Rusley. The beauty of the world is the mouth of a labyrinth, writes Simon Weil. We would be foolish not to follow its call. And so we enter the labyrinth, lured by the whiff of a dream still in the making. We can never be sure what we will find once inside. But this much is certain. There will be times when the beauty of the world, and with it the entrance to the labyrinth, unexpectedly disappears. Unable to find the labyrinth's opening, we often find ourselves in frantic search of an escape, fumbling for the next step, tiring ourselves out in the process. Disheartened, dispirited, we feel disoriented, we get lost. The question is not whether we will get lost in life, but rather how we will move through it in faith. As it happens, there is much that awaits us in our lostness, much to be excavated, examined, even exalted. In not yet knowing what will be, we are afforded the opportunity to appreciate what already is. The things hiding in plain sight. A frayed relationship, for example, may reveal our deeper needs. An unfulfilling career may motivate us to seek out a mentor. A misstart or a misstep may remind us of our own fragile humanity. It may claw open our hearts and sensitize us to the suffering of others. When lost, perhaps the greatest question our faith asks of us is this: how will we be found? Once the time is ripe, the stars align, and the way begins to open, will we be ready to embrace the mystery anew? Will we choose to trust anew? To risk anew, to hope anew? Will we allow ourselves to yet again be drawn in, swept up, taken over by that magic that makes life worth living? In the words of Simon Weil, for if we do not lose courage, if we go on, it is absolutely certain that we will finally arrive at the center of the labyrinth, and there God is waiting.
Our second reading this morning is an excerpt from an episode of the On Being podcast. This episode aired on January 30th, 2020. It was called A New Imagination of Prayer. In this episode, poet, theologian, and conflict mediator Padraig Otuma shares the following. So let us pick up the stones over which we stumble, friends, and build altars. Let us listen to the sound of breath in our bodies. Let us listen to the sounds of our own voices, of our own names, of our own fears. Let's claw ourselves from the graves we've dug. Let's lick the earth from our fingers. Let us look up and out and around. The world is big and wide and wild and wonderful and wicked, and our lives are murky, magnificent, malleable, and full of meaning. Oremus, let us pray.
Our second song is again in the small teal hymn book, but it's 1020, not 1022 as listed in your order of service. It says, Woyaya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we're in. And we'll get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we've been. And we'll get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, 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 oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, 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 yeah.
This week's theme is rediscovering. I am currently in a period of rediscovery myself that involves some technology and friends from my distant past. This past year was a difficult one for many of us, and I missed seeing friends, family, neighbors, and going to events. My routine was to get up, go to work, stay socially distanced, wearing a mask, come home, and that was about it, except for the occasional trip to the store. I'm not the most active person when there isn't a pandemic going on, but I'd felt pretty isolated for this past year. Last fall, I was sitting at my usual spot at home, reading some Facebook stuff when in came a friend request. The name was hyphenated, but I recognized the name from 42 years ago. She and I attended Lutheran schools separately, hers in Kimberly, mine in Appleton. And if you wanted to play an instrument, you could take lessons at your school. But the band got together on Saturday mornings at the Lutheran school in Appleton. This is where we had met and became acquainted back in 1978. So it was exciting to get this friend request. Shortly after I accepted her friend request, she had sent me a message saying that she was conversating with one of my older classmates. They were talking regularly, and my name had come up. And this is what started a wave of rediscovery for me. We began messaging back and forth regularly. Then we were talking on the phone every few days, and I went to church with her a few times, which meant a lot to her. It meant a lot to be invited as well. Our friendship, Rediscovery, continued to mature, and we would talk on a regular basis, meet for dinner on Friday evenings. After a few months went by, I hadn't heard from her in 5 days, which was unusual. I called my old classmate to see if he had heard from her, and when he said he hadn't, we were concerned and called the police to do a welfare check. We discovered that she had been found non-responsive in her home by one of her kids and was in the hospital. We did end up losing her 2 weeks later, which was very sad. But her passing was not going to be in vain. A large group of us got together after the funeral to celebrate our friend's life. And we vowed to rediscover our friendships from long ago in her honor. These last 6 months have been a rewarding time for me. Since the funeral in March of this year, I've gone to 3 Timber Rattlers games, a Brewer game, the Green Bay Botanical Gardens when things were blooming, the fire downtown for a project making session, the Mile of Music, several Thursday night concerts at Jones Park, dinners out, discovering walking trails, a trip to Menominee, Michigan to fish on the Bay of Green Bay, and more. This rediscovery of friends and making new ones has changed my life for the better. I've done more in the past 6 months than I've done in years and rediscovered friendships from long ago. Thanks to my friend who reached out with a friend request, I have many new friends now and look forward to more adventures with them.
Thank you to Dave for his story of his journey of rediscovery. So they say the eyes are the windows to the soul. That's what they say, right? The eyes are the windows to the soul. You know, during the before times, which, as many of you might know, many people have come to call the time before the pandemic, the before times. During the before times, I would hear that saying, the eyes are the windows to the soul. And if I was honest, it would sound a bit pretentious, like you're trying really hard to be deep, but things have changed. Now I hear that saying, the eyes are the windows to the soul, and I will unironically and enthusiastically nod my head to agree, because oh my goodness, yes, eyes can be so helpful for connecting with people and expressing yourself. After getting used to wearing a mask every day, I've become so much more mindful of what my eyes are doing and how I communicate with them. Has anyone else had this experience too? Yeah, right? We spend so much time now with the lower half of our faces covered up so that we can keep each other safe, so that we can keep our community safe. And then the eyes are just about all that's left for the world to see. I was talking with someone this past week who shared a super relatable story. They had been to one of our in-person services last Sunday, and they were so happy to be in our building, surrounded by people, young and old. And near where they sat, there was a family with a baby. And at one point, in the middle of the service, that baby made a noise, just a regular, cute little baby noise. And it brought this person so much joy to hear a baby nearby that they turned to the family and smiled. Then they realized afterward that it was probably hard to see their smile because of their mask covering it up. And that realization left them worried that perhaps they looked like they were turning toward them because they were annoyed, when really They were just full of joy and excitement. And so here I'll pause to say this as an aside for the record. The sound of young ones in our service is always a joy. But I too have totally been in situations like that. Anyone else, right? Yeah? Situations where your face is trying to express something, but other people have no idea because you're wearing your mask. And I don't know about you, but I've really struggled with that. I'm an expressive person. And so I've learned now that the eyes are the windows to the soul. These days, I personally have found myself trying to perfect the art of smizing, which, if you watch the television show America's Next Top Model sometime around 2008, you know that smizing refers to smiling with your eyes, right? So someone can tell you're smiling just by looking at your eyes. It's like a model skill, but very useful. I'm not sure I get it right. Sometimes I might look a little weird or maybe just tired, but I'm playing around with it. And I invite us all right now to go ahead and try it. Go ahead and turn towards someone near you if you feel comfortable and try smizing. Try smiling with your eyes. It's fun, right? It's cute. Isn't that nice? I never expected that I'd have to figure out a new way to smile or a new way to express any emotion. I never expected that our casual social interactions would change in this way and leave me thinking so much about what my eyes are doing. I don't know if I've ever paid this much attention to my eyes before in my life. My eyes, what they're doing, other people's eyes, what they're expressing. I feel like I'm rediscovering eyes and all of their emotive potential. And I really appreciate Dave's story a few moments ago about his journey of rediscovery, when he shared with us how he has been rediscovering old friendships from his past and how meaningful that has been for him. When him and I were planning this service, and he was sharing that story with me, he also pointed out that the whole experience of reconnecting with these friends had been made all the more richer and deeper because everyone has changed, and a lot has happened since they were in school together. Life's ups and downs, joys and tragedies have brought them to this special place in time of rediscovering each other and their friendships. Life changes. Life changes us. And boy, have these past few years thrown us into these changes more than ever, right? I'm not just talking about learning to live in a global pandemic and smiling with our eyes. Yes, the pandemic is the main thing on my mind these days, and it's definitely created overwhelming changes. And also, I know that many among us have been feeling swept up by other changes as well, by increasingly divisive political rhetoric, by attacks on science, by the ways that conversations about racism and colonialism and white supremacy have finally unabashedly flooded into our country's vernacular. Not to mention by all that we have been through in our own personal lives. And now here we are, gathered in this room together, relearning how to connect with each other, how to read each other's faces, looking into each other's eyes, rediscovering how to exist in community together with all that has changed. And whatever has shaped us in recent years, you can't deny that we have been changed. You have changed. I have changed. We're learning to communicate with each other in new ways. We're We're rethinking what's important to us, how we see the world. We may notice injustice in new and different ways. We may look at other people in new and different ways. The things we're willing to or not willing to put up with, the big questions that we ask about life and existence and what it means to be a part of a global community. All of that has probably changed and is still changing. Our spiritual needs have changed and are still changing. Change calls us into rediscovery. And what better time to focus on rediscovery than right now with everything that has been going on? That's why rediscovery was chosen as our fellowship's big theme for this program year. We are rediscovering ourselves. We are rediscovering this community. We are rediscovering our UU faith. You know, when our worship team first chose this theme last year, the team was expecting our rediscovery together to be a rediscovery of what life is like after the pandemic. That just gets you, right? Here we are still mustering up whatever we have in us to continue moving through this global health crisis with everything still always changing, still marinating in uncertainty. But if you think about it, discovery and rediscovery are not like before and after photos. It's not like we say, okay, I figured it all out. I know who I am. I know what I need. I'm done. We don't do that at any age. Rediscovery is certainly a process. It's ongoing because the world is going to keep changing and we're going to keep changing. In the reading that Dave read earlier this morning, Reverend Eric W. Martinez-Rusley points out that with all of these changes, it is so easy to feel lost in that labyrinth of life. But when lost, he says, perhaps the greatest question our faith asks of us is this: how will we be found? How will we be found? That's where our fellowship community comes in, isn't it? In the finding. You see, this is a place to bring our lostness. This is a place to bring those new questions we're asking, those questions about life and existence and being a part of a community. This is a place to explore whatever it is that is important to us these days. This is a place to dive into what our spirit needs right now. This is a place to play around with new ways of connecting and tapping into what is meaningful and good. What other place can you think of that can say that? In this moment, in this time, our religious community, our Unitarian Universalist community has something truly unique and beautiful to offer us. This is a place to bring our rediscovery of ourselves. And in the process of bringing that rediscovery here, perhaps we will find ourselves rediscovering our fellowship community and our UU faith in new ways. It's very possible that you might find this community and this religion to hold untapped potential in your life. The only way to find out is to look for it Perhaps anxieties of the time leave you with a deep thirst for a grounding spiritual practice that connects the body, mind, and spirit. Bring that thirst here. Perhaps world events leave you with confusing questions about ethics and living in relationship to others. Bring those questions here. Perhaps you are nothing but exhausted, down to your bones, feeling a desperate need for self-care. Bring that here. Perhaps for once in your life, you feel hungry for something to believe in, for a connection to some central goodness or spirit in the world. Bring that hunger here. Perhaps you face an unscratchable itch for justice and figuring out your own work in making the world a better place, your own role. Bring that itch here. Perhaps you feel confused about what you need and you're just looking for a place to exist just as you are right now. Bring that confusion here. Perhaps you are grieving and simply need to be held in your grief. Bring your grief here. Whatever you find in your own process of rediscovery, bring it here. And together we can rediscover what this community and our faith that we so cherish can offer in the process. Bring it here where we can welcome it with smiling eyes or with a compassionate hand to the heart. Bring it here. May it be so, and amen. Thank you, choir. Thank you. We are people of all ages who bring our joys and concerns into this time here together. We hope that you experience a welcome that helps you find connections of mutual support, a spirituality that helps you find meaning, peace that grounds you, and a zest for rediscovering life as it unfolds. We invite you to let us be a resource in our common quest to celebrate happy moments, seeking healing and wholeness, and continually rediscovering whoever and wherever we each might be on this path of existence. All are welcome after the service to place a stone from the bowl in the back in our fellowship chalice as a symbol of our loving community surrounding you supportively, if you so wish. For care and connection during the week, please reach out to myself or Reverend Leah or contact our office. If you'd like to be included in our weekly care email, you can call or email anyone on staff or fill out our website form. May the joys and the concerns that we share with each other or simply hold in our hearts' silent sanctuaries, may they draw us together so that our joy is amplified, our sorrow comforted, and our life's journeys witnessed. We now turn our attention to the joys and concerns wider than those gathered here in this community. We allow our mind and our heart to reach out in ever-widening circles outward like the ripples in water. This act of heart expanding might be joyful, or it might be uncomfortable, or even a little painful. And our faith reminds us that stretching ourselves outward to this awareness is the first movement toward creating a community and a world filled with more love and justice. Our first stone is for the joys, concerns, and transitions that are here among us. As that water ripples out, we add another stone to expand our hearts to the wider Fox Valley community and to the state of Wisconsin. This week, we honor our healthcare workers, and we lift up our local hospitals as rising numbers of COVID cases leave the Fox Valley and other communities with limited hospital beds once again. And as the ripples continue, we add our final stone for the wider world, a recognition of our deep interconnection with those across borders or oceans. This week, our hearts are with Haitian migrants at the US-Mexico border and those who have been deported to Haiti. We pray for healing and safe homes for all those affected as our faith calls us to create a beloved community where migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers are met with a spirit of welcome and hospitality. We enfold all who are celebrating and all who are suffering in the embrace of our hearts and commit ourselves to acts of compassion and justice in service to those circles beyond our own. May this moment of silence help make it so.
Our time together is coming to a close, which means our time to return to the world and to our daily lives is beginning. Our hope is that each week when we worship together, we provide each other with inspiration and empowerment to connect our values with our actions. Remember that there are always ways to get connected here, both in person and online, and to live your faith more fully. Be sure to read the weekly Scroll e-newsletter, or let us know if you would like to be added to that mailing list. Check out the back of your order of service for some highlights about what is coming up. Today, I especially welcome you to stop by the table outside of our front doors to learn more about our immigration justice team. Now, as we prepare our hearts to leave this gathering, we invite you to ponder what you wish to take home with you, what lesson or idea or theme that you will carry with you from this time together back into your daily life. Now let's share those with each other. Let's take this moment to speak one or two words into the silence, allowing our voices to overlap as a chorus of intentions for our week.
As we come to the end of our service, we will extinguish our chalice flame, even as we still hold its light in our hearts. Please join with me in our unison words. As we extinguish this flame, let us go our ways with hope in our hearts, with our spirits renewed, and with a deeper understanding of life's mystery. Let us carry the light of compassion and commitment to build a better world. After these closing words, we will hear a postlude song. We invite those of you who wish to stay in the sanctuary to gather towards the front for a time of sharing and conversation on the themes of the service, if that's something that interests you. Everyone else is welcome to use the time after the postlude to exit the building, make your way outside. You can visit the immigration justice table outside. You can chat. You can head home if you wish. We need time to let the building circulate clean air before our next service. And with that, go in rediscovery, rediscovering ourselves, our community, and our faith. Go in peace, knowing we wait to embrace you upon your return.